Welcome. I'm Aspicis, and I'm your host today with Face the Conclave. Here with my friend Jedzia, we're going to give you some information to help you decide on where you want to settle within our ranks in the Conclave of Aratar. We hold these casts every Wednesday at 8, Sundays at 4. That schedule is going to be changing in the future, but we definitely encourage you to tune in if you can, and if not, to check out our YouTube channel to, catch up on the individuals and the lore and topics that you've missed. For those of you who are new to the channel, we're a community gathered around the upcoming game, the Chronicles of Elyria, a game in development by Soulbound Studios. If you're interested in learning more about this upcoming game, there's a link below to take you to their website. Like mentioned earlier, we, the hosts and guests, are members of the Conclave of Artar. The Conclave of Artar is a duchy within the Kingdom of Vornir, and we're going to be introducing you to members of our community and discussing some topics about our community and the Chronicles of Elyria. Joining us this week as a guest is Ambassador Kosh. If you'd like to say hello, Ambassador and Jedzia.
Hello, how is everybody?
Good morning, everyone.
So Jadzia and Ambassador here, we're giving you an opportunity to get your name out there to talk about the things, the history you have in gaming, the things that you enjoy, the things that inspire you as a leader, and then give us some hard information about the county, the settlement that you plan to run. Ambassador, your account. Um, that's correct?
Yes, of two counties.
Two counties. Ah, so you've got twice the land mass of a regular count. You're a double count. Um, yes, we're gonna ask you some questions about your counties, about the city in your counties. You're the Lord of Epsilon City, it sounds like.
Correct.
Yeah.
Along with my husband.
Okay, okay. So yeah, we're gonna ask you some questions about Epsilon City, about your county of Orlan, and hopefully get to know you a little better through this. The questions that we ask, like I said, they really are going to start with you as a person, you as a gamer, and you as a leader, and then they're going to transition over to you as a count and what that county is all about to try to attract some people to your county on game launch. So, jumping right into it here. Could you tell us just a little bit about your gaming background? What are the things that you've played in the past? Do you tend to gravitate towards more strategy games, PvP games, environment games? Are there things that you enjoy in the gaming world? What are those?
Well, I started back in the 1970s with my dad, and his Pong game was my first game I ever played. Graduated to BBS system games, and then went to and have been playing Dungeons and Dragons since I was 9 years old, and have had many, many, many computer accounts with MMORPGs, World of Warcraft, 40-man raids when they had those was the big one. I started before that with Gemstone and Dragon Realms, which is a text-based, and in now getting into more sandbox, Arc, and loving solo ones, which I am hoping that the combat system is kind of going to be the same. The Witcher series and The Witcher 3 as my last full playthrough of a game.
Sorry. Interesting. You brought up a few things there that I thought were interesting. I'd like to elaborate on. So you mentioned and that you've got a history playing tabletop role-playing games like D&D, Pathfinder, those sort of things. Um, and then that usually, at least in my experience, has led to individuals, gamers looking for more WoW-esque, fantasy world building, fantasy. So there's a schism in gaming between world inclusion and competition. And it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong, that in your past, your history, you've definitely enjoyed the games where you have a deep and immersive environment, you have a rich storyline, and it hasn't always been so much about I'm better than you, or I just smashed your face in the ground in a game like PUBG or uh, God forbid Call of Duty, but something more environmental. Would that be correct?
Yes, I still role play. I've been role playing since I was 9, so it's like almost 40 years. And I am much more about the creativity and the ingenuity of role playing and games. I do not do first person shooters, but I do enjoy the skill set of the Witcher 3 type of combat system where you have to dodge, parry, choose your attacks wisely, that type of thing. And that's what kind of, I like that about the Chronicles of Elyria.
Yeah, no, no, it's got an immersive background. It's definitely something that's going to be ripe for playing a character. But then also, it's such a so the Chronicles of Elyria is such a wide spectrum of gaming tropes there. There's definitely elements of competition in the fact that you have a means to aggress on other individuals, whether that's with a sword or by market values. There's a lot of these themes you see in Eve and in games with heavy PvP aspects exist in a game like Chronicles of Elyria. And then you also have a lot of these tropes that come along with, like you said, role playing. You mentioned you've been role playing since you were 8. I mean, that's a long time of role playing. I imagine. You've got a few characters under your belt there, and you have the ability in a game like Chronicles of Elyria, and I think this is probably part of what excites you about it, to further that role-playing environment in a game where the actions of the character you're playing actually have an impact on the world around them. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I especially uh, I kind of like to see, at least when what I expect from it, that it's kind of like LARPing. I don't know if you know what that live action role playing.
Yep.
I've actually my own LARP, and I LARP every year in Gen Con, in a 3-night LARP that's there, and that's my favorite time of year is when I'm LARPing. So I'm hoping that that translates a lot into the Chronicles of Illyria's role playing and being able to get into character.
Yeah, don't we all? And I think that that hope is going to be, with the faith we put in the game is well put faith there, at least with that. I know Jedzia here is huge in role playing. Um, I'm not a huge text-based role player, but I definitely enjoy interacting in role play media that I find easier to communicate with. Usually it's on a tabletop kind of setting or in a game where I can play a specific trope or a specific character. Um, but yeah, no, I love that you bring up Gen Con, you bring up LARPing, and you bring up that ability to be social in your role playing, because that's one of the things that I think we are enabled to do in today's technosphere. With the internet, with different stuff like that, you can find communities that you're able to develop comfortable or develop a comfort in, such that you can play a character in them. And I think that's wonderful. So I want to give you an opportunity here, as we're talking about your gaming background, the things that you've played, the things that you've enjoyed doing in your life, and you know uh, we were talking before. So Ambassador Kosh, now that rings a bell. I can't remember where exactly, but Ambassador Kosh. I was thinking, and before we started this cast, I was about to write Ambassador Spock, but when you come up with the name Ambassador Kosh, where's the background in that? Where did that come from?
1990s TV series called Babylon 5.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. I've got their first season on my DVD stand. Um, so you've driven or you've drawn inspiration from the science fiction universe in this character. Do you plan to further that in how you play Ambassador Kosh, or is Ambassador Kosh a username that you've kept around for a while?
It's a username I've been keeping around, and like in WoW, I was Kosh. In the games that I play, that you can put in a name, it's always Kosh. Um, that's just what people know me as, and but I am going to be using inspiration and the TV series vocabulary to describe certain things in the area, or maybe name buildings or monuments or wherever, uh, from some of the lore from or some of the words and vocabulary from that series.
Yeah, so if you're a sci-fi nerd, like many of us are out there, and you take a trip over to Verlon to visit the sites, you may be tickled pink in seeing a feature, a town, a bar, or an inn that has heavy similarities to Babylon 5.
Yeah, there will be a tavern called Zocalo.
Confirmed tavern called Zocalo. Huh?
Awesome.
No, I like that. That's good. That's good. Um, so you're the Count of Orlan there. That's a big role to fill. Those are some heavy shoes. And the next section we're going to be transitioning to is talking about, when you're a leader, when you have leadership potential, what uh, what is necessary? What do you draw inspiration from? I make a number of suggested analogies, or associations to stuff like Steve Jobs as leader, or to um, Abraham Lincoln, to Churchill, to different figures in history. And what we're really getting at here is when you make decisions as leader, what guides that decision-making process? Where do you draw inspiration from? If I'm a peasant in your county and I happen to interact with you, what should I expect?
Well, my background is a teacher. I've been teaching for 15 years. So my inspiration to leadership would be to encourage you to be the best that you can be and to succeed. So it would be, what's your desires, um, and how can I help you um, do that? The question I would ask everybody first is, who are you? Who do you want to be?
All right. And so now I've come into your county. You've asked me, who do I want to be? And let's say you catch me in a bold-faced lie. I say I want to be a fisherman. Um, and then I really want to sell those fish for thousands and thousands of gold, and then run the town that I started fishing from. Um, how would you react to that?
I would say, well, it sounds like you have a gift for persuasive speech, and there could be a place and time for that.
Especially if you're Turesque, that fits.
Yes, the Turesque with their sharp teeth. As long as they don't take it to your neck, I'm sure they're wonderful
Well, they're the
people.
best negotiators, first of all, and their contracts hold sway. And, getting fish by, swimming in the wetlands is pretty easy.
That's true. That's true. So if there's any fishermen out there with aspirations of leadership and or business, Turesque, take a look. No, but what it sounds like you're saying there, Ambassador Kosh, is your leadership style, what the way that you interact with your community, um, has a lot to do with making sure that their needs are clearly understood and then supported at least from a account level. Um, not necessarily passing too heavy of judgment on somebody for having big dreams or small dreams, but at least trying to understand and help them achieve those things. And you said something very similar to that when we first asked the question. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, as a teacher, expectations are should be clearly known and transparent. So if you have an aspiration to do this or to learn this skill or to that I can help you with, then that is definitely what I can do. And if I do not have the proper skill set or ability to do that, then I will seek out the information to who you can go to.
Yeah, being a coordinator for, between a mediator, a coordinator for things you don't know. I think that falls in very heavily with a lot of leadership. You can't expect to know everything, right, Kosh? There's things that are outside your interests or outside your ability, but knowing who you know, if that makes sense, you're able to connect people together.
Well, being a good leader definitely means that you know yourself in the first place. It's one of those things that, again, he'll bring those people together as they need to be based on needs and desires.
And I hope to do a lot of connecting because of the basis uh, of my county and my town.
Yep. So we've been talking about leadership, talking about what type of leader, how you're going to interact with the individuals around you. As a leader, you're going to have goals, whether they're for yourself or for the community around you. And I want to give take a moment quick here to switch over to your goals in the COE slide and talk about your personal goals and your goals for the community and how, as a leader, those intermingle, I guess. So basically, in COE, one of your goals is to explore, discover, and adventure. That's not necessarily the easiest task in the world to do, and maybe you'll need some support in that. How does your role as a count interact with your desire to explore, discover, and adventure?
Well, I believe that in order to connect the people with the right uh, people that they need to go to, you need to explore an adventure. But also, there are going to be places that, you know, people are afraid to tread or have not explored yet, and they need to be explored, and the secrets need to be uncovered. So, the in a way, I'd like to be part of, known for cartography and for, this is where you get the maps, even outside of our duchy and our kingdom.
Yeah, you want to be a cartography center, and so as a count, are you planning on helping set up and run a guild for cartography, or are you going to just support cartography and map making with, say, a grand building to house all these maps, or a square or a center to do the things that are necessary to support the cartography trade? Think paper making or making sure that you've got enough warehouses for ink or other things like that. What decisions as a leader um, are you going to make around the structures required to run cartography?
We will be more of like an explorers guild than um, staying there. So we will be providing the maps to the county, to the duchy, and to the historians and the library of the duchy. So we will not be housing our own, but we will be doing all the exploring or trying to be doing all the exploring.
Gotcha. So you want to be the feet on the ground, is what you're saying.
Yeah, we're much more the doers than the sit behind a desk going, okay, I'm going to copy this map for you.
No, I got you there. I got you. Um, Yeah, and I think that leads to a nice segue as we've been talking about, your goals and the goals of the county in Elyria, giving you the opportunity to tell us a little bit more about your settlement, your package, and what you intend to do with them, the type of atmosphere it is. Usually in the sections when we talk about settlement and package, we want to know things like the geography that if you're leaning towards a certain type of geography. We were talking with the dwarves, the Hrothi of Iskar, um, earlier, and the Hrothi require mountains, and so of course that community is very excited about settling in a mountainous area. When we talk about your settlement, your package, are there geographical features that you're looking for when you go into domain selection?
Nope. The domain selection though would be I know that I'm going to try to get the next to the Duchess. Uh, as we have relationship, we have a we're going to try to get next to each other, or I'm going to try to get next to her. And with 2 counties, I thinking that I can probably do that. And their terrain isn't going to be that, because of the nature of my town and my county. The district that I settle in is not the habitat that I settle in is not going to be that important, because we're going to be mostly going out of that.
Yeah, you'll be a group of adventurers, and so of course you are where your feet are. Um, and you mentioned, you want to settle by our fair Duchess. Um, I know that you guys have a history or your friends and the like. Um, do you expect to work closely with the Duchess in your gaming career in Elyria, or is this just a security kind of thing? Like
I'm
you're,
sure I'm called to court every once in a while, but I'm not the court kind of person.
hmm, gotcha. So individuals who are looking to settle in your area should benefit from being close to the capital of the duchy and expect to have relatively safe experiences inside your county. Would you say that's correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, well, define safe, because the skill set that we are going to be teaching and going to be practicing, it's going to be you versus the environment in different ways. So it might be, okay, we're going to do some spelunking and some climbing. So we're going to have to go over to this county and go into this cave system because that's the nearest cave system. So, or you're going to be, I want you to swim, 500 meters down this river that's rushing the other way. So for me, it's safe for people to be around, but it's going to be you versus the environment.
I'm pulling out my otter bears. Forget it. I'm not swimming.
Hey, using beasts is a way to survive. Really.
Yeah, and I said relatively safe, of course meaning relative to whatever you're considering safe. But I like that you bring up, the type of PvE environment that you are trying to shoot for in your domain selection in your county is not necessarily one of inherent competition between individuals, not, swords on shields, ward field, and blood and slaughter like we see from some of the counties that intend to settle on the border, but
Well,
more,
like Tiberius in his Colosseum.
or like Tiberius in his Colosseum, correct? But more of you versus the world, which is in some ways I'm not gonna say a harder, but it's a different type of hard, isn't it?
Yeah, because not only are you going to, I mean, because let's face it, at the beginning, everything is brand new. It's a new game, so everything's gonna be brand new, and we're going to, everybody's gonna be exploring their own areas. But then when you move beyond that, so say 6 months down the road, where I have, or my my citizens in my town have done cartography for the duchy. Then we move out from that, some of us will move out into other kingdoms and start that process, which is, in a way, very essential to future kingdoms, the security of our kingdom.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a good point. This is a starting, this is where you settle at the very beginning is a starting point, and you're gonna build upon that. Your citizens are going to reach out and spread the influence of County Vorlon, whether it's through name or through action. Um, so we've talked about, geographically where you would like to settle, where you'd like to start out at. Is there any Do you put any significance in the race? Are you a hardcore Neron follower, and you're like humans are the best? I will always be a human. Doesn't matter if it's 2.5 or 5e.
Nope, it is we welcome all, and everybody has their strengths, and everybody is going to have to learn how to adapt to the different environments and hazards to those biomes. So it would be my county would be, I hope, uh, one of the most diverse counties, because I would welcome all, and I would encourage as many different races to settle and to be explorers and cartographers as possible.
Yeah, if you're going to be a center for exploring and cartography, I mean, we know that the Harathi are going to have an easier time in those tundra-like climates, and God, hope that we find the Yoru, and those sort of cold ice giants will obviously fare better in cold, icy places. Likewise, Weird will be probably the best explorers of desert climates and those sort of things. So if you're looking to be an explorer county, or at least the home of all these exploring types, being able to like it makes sense that different races would find a home in your county after they come back from wherever they've gone in order to stock up and report their findings, right?
Yeah, and and it's not so much of you know of going exploring and then coming back, but not just cartography either, but also the beasts that are there, the herbology, the where to find these rare plants that might work well medicinally, and to open up possible trade routes too, because chances are we will be the people that would be doing the exploring and might be the first ones to interact with the next kingdom.
Yeah, interesting. You bring up a really good point. Being the wayfinders, being the path makers. You're often the first to learn of the locations of a resource, say, a special plant or a mineral or something, a mountain pass that later wants to be developed or whatnot. So I imagine your county, your group of explorers, the ones in the know of your area is going to have a lot of interactions with the different groups and departments and cities and whatnot, because imagine I want to send a caravan from Vinderberg to, um, let's say, from Vinderberg to Alasia, um, but I don't know how to get there. It's not beyond reason that I would reach out to yourself or somebody within your community and say, hey, could you show me the way? How do you see that role being fulfilled in your county?
Well, it's twofold. It it fulfills a role different in peacetime than in wartime. So in wartime, we would be the scouts, and to a certain extent, possibly the spies. in peacetime, it would be just like you said. I could, our maps, with the way that we map out things, could be used with the roadworks department. That this is very detailed map that we were able to create so that you can build the easiest, best road to link these cities and to further our trade.
Yeah, yeah, no, and I look forward to seeing the interactions with your group and uh, how that improves, how that enriches the performance of different cities, different areas, different groups. Um, you know, I'm I'm one who enjoys uh, person-to-person PvP conflict, and God forbid we ever have to take use of scouts or spies. But I think that's a story in and of itself, isn't it? Getting to interact, getting to compete, getting to be the things in the world that center around conflict. I think that's a lot of fun there.
Yeah.
So
In the beginning, our conflict is obviously going to be the environment. And that's where the exploring of ruins, caves, even just the wilderness where these supposed mythical beasts are supposed to be, or rumors of having, this folklore type of creature that's been seen. So we will explore it. We're the ones who take the risk.
And even the possible plague lands that we might end up having.
yeah, that's an interesting point there. The plague lands. There's an event going on, the Syrian plague right now. Listeners, if you haven't been involved, then please do, contribute one side or the other, either to have the creation of a plagued lands in Illyria or to prevent the plagued lands, whether you want to earn yourself a package, pass for a life, or if you're just want to contribute to the lore and the environment of the game world. That's a lot of fun things. But so the Plague Lands brings up an interesting angle on gameplay, and that's if there exists a a region that is inhospitable, and if your explorers are as equipped and as knowledgeable as you intend them to be, um, there's going to be a lot of demand for your people or the people who settle inside your county. How do you put this? How does a leader such as yourself with the county, such as you've outlined so far, accommodate or prepare for events that create demand on their people and or on their land?
I would say that it would be obviously voluntarily, and you would want to do it as people who think they can, who have the right skill set and mindset to do so. I know people that would enjoy just the challenge of certain environments and biomes. So, just as an example, I intend to, after exploring and doing things, I intend to have explorer races in my county, to where the explorers I will have like an event that you need to go and find so and so and give them like a little riddle of where they could be found, but it would be a very hard route environment, like the top of a mountain or through the cave system of something like that. And the first person would get a prize. So
Almost a scavenger hunt kind of thing, but
yes,
for the person.
correct, because the person's going to be also moving around in that area.
And then a
So,
prize given at the end, be it a piece of equipment or something on that order.
yep, maybe some supplies, a nice cartography set, depends on the need and wants. Sometime and kind of also that's going to be kind of the initiation to be into the Explorer Society.
That's cool. We did something really very similar when we were one of the guilds I ran was a guild called the Tiny Daggers and also the Scales and Pain in EQ1, and we did something very similar. We'd have what we used to call actually a newbie night, and essentially we'd be in the middle of the arena of bones, and we'd be giving out riddles and clues that to the next specific individual that you had to go talk to, and based on your progression was who ended up at the finish line first got X number of stuff. So that's very cool. I'm glad to see something like that implemented.
Yeah, no, I think that's an intriguing um, event that you have planned there. If there's anything that we can do to help you support that, they do. Like Jedzia was saying, communities have run different sort of fun scavenger hunt like things. You mentioned you wanted to be like a scavenger hunt. If viewers, if you haven't read up on this in the past, there was a event that was hosted by a unknown entity on the internet, such that they posted a picture on, say, Reddit, finding some. It was a Reddit subchannel that was centered around solving puzzles and that sort of thing. And embedded inside the image was a clue that led them to another clue, led them to another clue. You see where I'm going here, very National Treasure-esque like situations. And if you're hosting one of those, Ambassador Kosh, like Jadzia said, that's going to be fantastic. That's going to be interesting. I can imagine people tromping all over Elyria just to piece together the breadcrumb trail that you've laid for them. And I think that's wonderful. Like maybe like you said, you give them some supplies, or maybe what you give them is a map to a previously unknown location or something like that. Or maybe you give them another clue and the journey never stops for these people.
well, like I said, there's going to be events like that, but then there's also going to be what I'm envisioning is that there's going to be certain ranks in my society, and those ranks are based on whether you can actually do these certain scavenger hunts. And if you can succeed, then you can go up in ranks.
So like it's kind of like, you know, if you can fulfill a contract, you achieve better renown. It's almost like fame in a way, right? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. Yes. And then people who have this rank, that they've done these certain deeds, and that they've done the gauntlet of so and so cave or something like that. And
And yeah, and then you can trust them based more on their rank. I like that. I like that embedding some faith inside your society. I think that's really interesting. Um, so we've been talking about your settlement, your package, your area, the little attractions and events that you've got around there. I want to give you a moment to talk about Epsilon City, and the capital of your county and what that is intending to be. Like you said, a lot of times the citizens of your county are away on business, let's say. Um, at least the ones who are fulfilling the adventuring that you intend to hold. What role does Epsilon City play in this?
well, Epsilon City, I'm hoping, uh, depending on the design of it, is not going to be a typical city. It's going to be more sprawled out and not as high, or because we like our space. We're not city folk. So I'm
Wow.
hoping to have more of a people might say even a town or a village as opposed to high spiral walled off city.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think there's a lot of. I wish I had saved up an image. I'll look for it real quick. But when we talk about, hamlets and villas and cities and villages and towns, the developers have different ideas about how big each one of these spaces are. And we keep using the term city in these casts to describe, the center of a county or a town or something like that. But as far as they've indicated, Epsilon City, you would have to have far more people than I think you intend to have inside of it in order to qualify to be a city. But Epsilon Town, of course, doesn't sound quite as noble.
Yeah, understood. However, like it's going to be it's going to be spread out. So it's not going to be tall or concentrated. It's going to have these pockets, I'm hoping, these pockets of like areas that are a little bit more plentiful. So it would be, so it's not decentralized. There will be like one bigger area, but not like the keeps, the big huge castle keeps.
Yeah, yeah, like you said, sprawling, but open,
Yeah, we like our space.
like our space. This is my space. Don't come into my space. This is my space. Um, yeah, yeah. Now, you've talked about Epsilon, so you've talked about the county of Verlan. We generally ask some questions about lore and about environment and stuff like that. I don't know if you want to go into those areas or not. Other than what we've talked about so far, there's not too many more questions that I have. So if we want to talk about lore and about the idea of role playing, as you've described, you've done role playing, you've enjoyed role playing, what you're going to do to support role playing inside your environment, we can go into that if you'd like. Otherwise, we'll transition towards the wind down on the cast. I leave the decision up to you. I want to give you the opportunity to talk about anything and everything dear and near and dear to your heart as the Count.
Well, there's just one other thing I'd like to mention that the I have a county and my husband has a county, and we will be combining those together as a married couple, and I will be running most of it, and that's why I have two counties, and so just letting you know that it's obviously the duchy and the kingdom is going to be very open, but it will be known that it is run by uh, two guys that are married.
Yeah, and I think that's great. It's a safe environment, it's a welcoming environment, and it's not a judgmental one. I mean, we how do you put this?
So will
I
your husband be playing too, Kosh?
Yeah, he'll be playing, but he isn't. He's going to be the one who's going to be in the town and building. He likes to build stuff. So I'm more the adventurer and able to survive in the wilderness type.
Is he Count Ewart of Artur Eritor?
Correct.
Okay, no what because when I was going through trying to schedule folks, I ran across the name and I was like, I think Duchess. That's part of Duchess's family, obviously by Arator, and I was like, but I never see him. So mystery solved.
Yep, you probably won't be getting an interview with him. You'll be getting an interview with me.
Hey, you're the face, the fun loving adventure one, and
He's
he's
the
the architect.
ambassador.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You're the ambassador, and he's the architect. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, if there's not anything else that you want to discuss, you want to talk about, we're gonna transition shortly over to our goodbyes, and And yeah, Jadzia, is there anything you can think of that we'd like to ask Ambassador Kosh while we have his graces?
No, but I would definitely say please make sure that I know you're on a different time zone than a lot of us. So for those that are of you or that are listening, Kosh does run on a different time zone because he is actually overseas. So you'd probably be best catching him early in the mornings. But if you do have questions as far as his county or have interest in being part of a group of rangers or adventurers, he's definitely the person to check into. And then from that point, if you need help publicizing and or wanting more people to get involved in your upcoming events or scavenger hunts, keep us posted, and I will make sure that it gets publicized.
Thank you.
So without further ado, before we get to our final goodbyes, I just want to give a reminder to our listeners that we, the guests and hosts of Face the Conclave, we hail from the Conclave of Aratar. If you or a friend of yours is part of the Aratarian community and you wish to have a similar spotlight for your group, your school, your organization, town, or county, please reach out to Jadzia here and she can get you on our books. Now, if there's a topic you want to talk about with the Illyrian community at large, maybe it's about crafting, how to make the best sword or the prettiest door, about politics and how the rumor and fame systems work, the economy, maybe you want to talk about deviant lifestyles, stabby, stabby, slash, slash, or PvP lifestyles, rank lines, and military theory, reach out to me, Asbestos, and we'll put something together to discuss in a media form similar to this. A reminder to you that we try to hold these casts every Wednesday and Sundays at 8 and 4 Eastern. Like I said previously, that's going to be a little more flexible coming up as schedules are changing. But I encourage you to join in whenever we are live in the Twitch chat to discuss and ask questions to the interviewees. Um, Basically, this has been Face the Conclave. I've been your host, Aspicis, along with Jadzia here, and guest starring today has been Ambassador Kosh. See you next time, folks. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.